So good morning to one and all. Today, I'm going to give a presentation and I would like to bring about the importance of wearing the seat belts, especially in a four-wheeler while driving, and a small connect with Mr. Cyrus Mistry's car accident, who happened to be a great friend of mine. I am MS Sharma, who have worked in Tata Steel and JSW for the last about 37 years, and I've been associated with DuPont for the past 23 years. The seat belt essentially holds the occupant in the seat and prevents them from throwing out of the vehicle due to force and hitting the dashboard, windshield, which can cause serious head injuries or even worst to fatalities. Wearing a seatbelt as a front seat passenger can limit your chances of moderate to fatal injury by 50%, and of course, by death, 45%. And this data is actually coming from National Highway Traffic Safety Administration called NHTSA. Wearing a seatbelt in a light motor vehicle basically limits your risk of critical injury by 60%. And this data is coming out from the American Automobile Association. And it goes into record that 47% of the people die in car accidents who don't wear seatbelts. For the past 3 years, it has been observed that more than 47% of the people who died in car crashes are the ones who have actually refrained from wearing seatbelts. And hence, friends, the seatbelt is absolutely critical to driver and passenger safety. According to NHTSA, the simple act of buckling can actually prevent 50% of all automobile deaths. More than 75% of the people who are ejected during a fatal crash, they die from critical injuries. Only 1% of the passengers were wearing a seatbelt who were ejected out of the car during a crash. So given the number of accidents that happen every day, India accounts for 11% of the accident-related deaths in the world. In 2018, more than 1.5 lakh people have lost their lives in road accidents, and around 400 people were killed in road accidents every day. Friends, this is equivalent to a plane crashing every day. Data shows that overspeeding accounts for 64% of the accidents. Not wearing helmets is about 29%. No seat belts is about 15%. Driving on the wrong side of the road is 6%. And drunken driving causes 3% of all the accidents. Talking while on the mobile is about 2.4%. While our government is taking several measures on road safety, it is important that we do our bit. Two-wheelers accounts for 35% of the total number of accidents. And out of this, the young adults between the age of 18 and 45 account for more than about 70% of road accident victims. And the minors account to close to about 7%. The share of males in the number of accident deaths is about 86%, and the rest is shared by the females. To record, the state of Tamil Nadu recorded the highest number of road accidents in the year 2018. Other stupid reasons for road accidents are poor law enforcement. They feel uncomfortable to wear the seat belts because it creates a mark on the cloth. It's not considered to be a safety essential device. And of course, most of my friends don't use it, so I also don't use it. Let's understand, what does the seat belt do? Let's refresh our mind with some elementary physics. It is important to know what happens to your body during a crash. Let's say you are driving on a highway at 80 kilometers per hour and your body too is traveling at the same speed. When you hit an obstacle, your car will come to a sudden stop, but not your body. It will continue to go forward as per the Newton's law of motion because there is nothing to hold you in place. You could either be thrown out of the car or collide with the dashboard or steering wheel depending upon the position of yourself related to the seat. Chances are that people who are thrown out from the vehicle are 4 times more likely to be killed than those who remain inside the vehicle. Therefore, wearing a seatbelt will hold your body in place and comes as a lifesaver and holds the occupant in the seat and prevents them from throwing out of the vehicle due to force and hitting the dashboard windshield, which can cause serious head injuries. Sometimes your neck gets thrown backwards from the impact before rebounding forward. This is known as whiplash, and it stretches the tendons and muscles in the neck. Whiplash can cause minor to major damage to the neck, back, and the spine. We can land up with injured limbs, arms, and legs, and they can come into contact with various parts of the body. The collarbone, which is very fragile, is one of the first parts of the upper body that can become injured in a crash since the seatbelt lies in front of it. The discs between your spine can also experience trauma and disc herniation from whiplash from the impact of the car crash. Understanding the Cyrus Mistry accident, the speed brake impact. Some of the inputs, particularly the car crash, has been agreed by Mr. Rajiv Kelkar, who has been a PhD in mechanical engineering from the Columbia University, who specializes in accident reconstruction and the biomechanics of human injury. At nearly about 90 kilometers per hour into a barrier, this clearly qualifies as high severity frontal collision, and the car crash that killed the former Tata Sons chairman, Cyrus Mistry, the director of the Global Strategy Group at KPMG London office, Mr. Jahangir Pandole, and along were Anahita Pandole at the wheel and her husband, Darius Pandole. Based on the sources of information, this would be classified as a high severity frontal, and hopefully the data from the black box will provide a more objective description of the vehicle, deceleration profile in the collision, the braking profile before the impact, and the steering inputs before impact, and other such collision parameters. In the next slide, we have already discussed all the possible injuries. And now we go back to the next slide, which is the importance of the seatbelt. Sometimes it is common that occupants in the same vehicle sustain different injuries in a collision, and there are differences in the injury mechanism for belted occupants to the belted occupants compared to the injury mechanisms for unbelted occupants. For example, the belted occupants have restraints, which is the seat belt and the airbags, that prevents their head from striking the interior structures forcefully. The movement of belted occupants is more controlled. The unbelted occupants essentially gets launched in an uncontrolled manner within the vehicle until they strike something forcibly in the vehicle interior. So a combination of individual differences in strength and occupant positioning related to the vehicle can also explain the differences in injury outcome to the belted to the unbelted seat occupants. The seat belt is primarily a restraint in the frontal collision and definitely reduces the likelihood of making forceful contact with structures such as the dashboard, steering wheel, windshield, and for the rear side belted occupant, it reduces the likelihood of forceful contact with the backs of the front seats and prevents the occupants from being launched into the front half of the passenger compartment. Finally, what do the airbags do? Airbags are supplemental restraint meant to work in conjunction with seatbelts, and they were basically developed as a supplemental restraint. So the seatbelt is the primary restraint and the airbags are the secondary supplementary restraints. Now, let us now summarize as to what we are basically talking about. Wear your seat belts regardless of seat location, regardless of length of drive, regardless of skill of the driver. It is the one and the most important single thing you should do when you get into the car. Remember, a car has a heavy mass and constitutes a lot of energy when it is moving. It can create a lot of damage and harm to all occupants inside and outside the vehicle. Have your faculties in good shape, and when you drive, don't speed. There have been tremendous advancements in vehicle safety. These passenger vehicles are not patent tanks, so don't ever think that it is indestructible. And we as humans are indestructible either. Drivers, don't sit right up against the steering wheel. Leave at least 25 centimeters between yourself and the steering wheel. This is to reduce the likelihood of forceful chest contact with the steering wheel and the deploying airbag. Thank you so much and hope you've enjoyed the video.